business, baby. Welcome to another episode of Nothing New Under the Sun podcast. I am your host, Talia, and I cannot wait to get into today's episode. Guys, I would really like to apologize for all the time that I've spent away from this. I'm back with a good one though. Today we are diving into some classic AITA drama from Reddit. If you don't know what that is, AITA stands for Am I the A-hole? Which is basically a Reddit forum where people come, they ask are they wrong for the situation that they were in or how they handled the situation that they were in, and they get opinions from the public all over Reddit. We are going to be looking at all the different juicy and messy situations that make us all think, bro, I'm so happy that's not me. Or maybe it is you, in which case, don't worry, we are here to help. Around here, we take those Reddit stories and we add a biblical twist on them, and we add some biblical lessons to them, and we answer those AITA questions. The name of today's episode is What's in a Name, as you've already seen. And let me tell you, we have some very interesting things to dive into today. Have you ever wondered why some people will name their children some of the wildest things? And I'm not just talking apple, north, time, which those are wild, but sometimes they're expected when it comes from celebrities. Where I'm from, in the south of Africa, it is very common to find nouns and adjectives being used as names. I'm talking from the very top of names like prosper, divine, blessed and blessing is a very common one, to even more weird names like SIM card, forget, circle. Yes, those are all very real names that I have actually heard and encountered. I've tried to figure out where these weird and honestly bizarre ways of naming come from, and I've come to understand that it all boils down to a perceived improved social class system, which is based on your proximity to English and therefore your intelligence. Let me explain. The more you could prove that you had a better knowledge and understanding of the English language, the more likely you were to have more education, a better job, and more money. And your children's names were supposed to be a hallmark of this. Another reason is that it's widely believed that a name can influence the lifestyle that one might live in the future. So the child that was named Forget, the one that I know, was actually named that way because her mother abandoned her and it was believed that she was forgotten. In the same way, a child named Favor might be seen to bring favor into the family. Naming a child Prosper would mean that the child is going to prosper in life. However, my question is, where do these beliefs come from? Do they have any real meaning or effect in someone's life? And really, what's in a name? Let's get into it. So the story that I have chosen to read, I saw it about 2 weeks ago, and it was an hour in, and I screenshotted it because I actually thought this is diabolical. People have to hear about this, and unfortunately it has since been deleted. So how normally we would go through the comments and what other people had to say, unfortunately we don't have that today, but we do have the original story. Am I the asshole for not letting my daughter's husband see her after her birth? I, 47-year-old female, have a daughter, 24-year-old female, named Layla, who just gave birth to her first child. I don't know much, but I know that she and her husband Matt, who is 27 male, have been having issues on what to name their child. Matt wants to name their baby a ridiculous name, which I won't specify on here, but it's a month, and not something like June, May or April, something like October, with a middle name that's a colour, and once again, not something like Violet or Scarlet. Meanwhile, Layla wants a more practical name. Okay, so for example, July Orange or December Green, and he wants to name his child this. Because of all this, they've been in marriage counselling, which hasn't seemed to work. A few weeks ago, Layla gave birth but had to stay hospitalised because of complications. Right after her birth, she was very out of it and wasn't in her right mind. Matt took advantage of this, and when I asked him what they were going to name the baby, he stated the name he wanted. For example, December Green. I knew Layla wouldn't like this and that it was supposed to be a joint decision, so I didn't allow him to sign anything, which resulted in him not being able to legally sign off as her father. When Layla woke up, she thanked me for it, but Matt has been refusing to see their baby. What was supposed to be a beautiful phase in their life has now been spoiled by his family bombarding her with texts and calls. Now I'm starting to think I may have gone too far since he hasn't seen the baby in weeks. Am I the asshole? To be clear, Matt was hours away at the time of Layla's birth. I asked him what they were going to name their baby on call. When I heard his response, I didn't tell him which hospital we were at, so he had no way of coming in and signing anything. Wow. First thought, so many red flags all over the place. And what hurts me the most about this is the fact that they are already married and the baby is born. And this is what you have to deal with. Wow. For the mother, I am so sorry. Honestly, what a situation and a half. So let's actually talk about my thoughts on this. First of all, making sure that your child has an acceptable name is a part of protecting your child. Not to say that all names aren't acceptable, but there is a reason why names such as curse words, Lucifer, Hitler, legally cannot be used as children's names. As a parent, it is your job to make sure that your child is not going to be ridiculed, rejected, and bullied, and choosing their name actually goes into that. Second of all, I genuinely think it sounds like Matt wants to be the most eccentric and interesting person that he can be with the names that he's decided on, without actually thinking on the effect that that name will have on his child's life. And to be honest with you, it seems like Matt does a lot of things without thinking about the effect that it will have on other people. For starters, he attempts to take advantage of his wife's helplessness and the fact that she's out of it. He then refuses to see his own baby and therefore is refusing to help with the baby, and then allows his family to bombard a new, freshly postpartum mother with unnecessary stress. He does a lot of things that are helping himself without thinking about anybody else. Original poster says, I'm starting to think I may have gone too far since he hasn't seen his baby in weeks. Mind you, Matt is a grown man with 100% ability to make his own decisions about whether or not he wants to see his child. This man is 27 years old. So if he has made the decision to not see his baby in weeks, it's not because anybody's stopping him, but rather because his feelings are hurt that he can't enact his ego on a helpless child. To be honest, I feel so sorry for his wife, Layla. I feel so sorry for her. Because she's now going to have to try and be a parent with a man who is immature and cannot put his own child first and is only concerned about his ego and what he wants. So, turn in your Bibles with me to Genesis and we are going to get straight into what I really want to talk about today. I would like to start in Genesis 25 and we are going to read 21 to 26, where we'll be reading about the beginning of the story of Jacob and Esau. I'm not sure if you could have guessed it, this is where I was going. Jacob and Esau are two twin brothers whose destiny was decided for them before they were even born and went on to shape the rest of their lives. So let's read and we can really start figuring out what is true. So verse 21 to 24, it says, Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was childless. The Lord answered his prayer and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. The babies jostled each other within her and she said, Why is this happening to me? So she went to inquire of the Lord. The Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb and 2 peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the elder will serve the younger. When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment, so they named him Esau. Esau may mean hairy. After this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel, so he was named Jacob. Jacob means he grasped the heel, and a Hebrew idiom for he deceives. After reading this, I did some research and I found that the meaning of the name Jacob can mean the follower or the I didn't know what supplanter meant. I then identified that this is the use of a metonymy. A metonymy is a figure of speech used to substitute the name of something with something closely related. So, for example, cash is a metonymy of money. So then I researched what a supplanter means, and it means to supersede, especially by force or treachery, or to deceive or trick. This is important because as we go through the story of Jacob and Esau, we can see how Jacob's behavior and his desires and his actions really live up to the name that he was given. First of all, in verse 29 to 24, he manipulates his brother's hunger and gets him to give him his birthright and his inheritance. Let's read it. It says, "Once when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country famished. He said to Jacob, 'Quick, let me have some of that stew, I'm famished.' Jacob replied, 'First, sell me your birthright.' 'Look, I'm about to die,' Esau said. 'What good is the birthright to me?' But Jacob said, 'Swear to me first.' So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright." Obviously, at this point in time, the reason why I say that it's manipulation of his brother's hunger is because it's very likely that in that situation, his brother's so hungry that he's not even adopting the seriousness of giving away his birthright. He is entering into this oath without actually recognizing what it means for him to do so and not recognizing his brother's intentions with this. So he's manipulated him by not actually showing him the seriousness within this situation. Later on, in chapter 27, Jacob uses his father's blindness to trick him into giving him the blessing that was meant for the firstborn child. And in verse 35, Jacob's nature is definitely determined because his father then says, "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing." Esau said, "Isn't he rightly named Jacob? This is the second time he's taken advantage of me. He took my birthright and now he's taken my blessing." So I'm gonna fast forward in the story because everything we're talking about right now is an example of what's really in a name. So Jacob eventually runs away from Esau, who hates him. He then has a dream where the Lord promises him descendants like the dust of the earth. This is important. He is then deceived himself by his father-in-law and ends up marrying Rachel and Leah, who have 12 children with him, who then eventually become the 12 tribes of Judah. This is important. He then repents and goes back to meet Esau, only then to have his redeeming moment where he wrestles with God, and this is what we're going to be talking about, essentially. In chapter 32, verses 22 to 32, it tells us of how Jacob wrestles with this man until the man touches his hip socket. His hip then becomes stuck in place. Jacob tells the man that he is not going to let go of him until he blesses him. When the man asks him for his name and he answers, the man tells him, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." This is in verse 28. And even then, when you think about it, everything that's being set up, if you even think about the relationship that the Israelites went on to have with God, this moment fulfilled a prophecy that we didn't even know about, because Israel means to struggle with God. Essentially, both Esau and Jacob have names that were attached to who they are and were meant to be as people. Esau was literally named hairy, which is used to describe the way that he was. It's used to describe how Jacob then deceived his father. It's used to describe his entire life. He was just hairy. Jacob is described or named as the deceiver, the trickster, the supplanter. His name is rightly Jacob, as his brother said. He was named with the destiny and the personality of somebody who is deceitful in manner. I say all of this because Jacob is one of the first examples that we have of the importance of your name and how your name can be used to fulfill your destiny, and how important it is when you are choosing your... The meaning of a name for your destiny in life is so important, because when Jacob wrestles with God, the one thing that Jacob receives from God as his blessing is a change in name, which then becomes a change in destiny. When Jacob's name was changed to Israel, his destiny was therefore also changed, which is why he then went on to have children who then become the 12 tribes of Judah that we will also see in heaven. Your name is so imperative to who you are and who you are meant to be. If we even use a further example in the Bible, we can look at the story of Hagar and how she ran away from her persecutor, who was Sarah, and she went on to live a life and she believed that she saw God and her prayer was answered. And the first thing that Hagar did was she called God the name El Roi, which means the God who sees. And this is because she believed that God had seen her, God had understood her, and God had serviced her at this time. Oftentimes, your name will very much be attached to your destiny. Your name will very much be attached to your personality, your character, and who you are meant to be. Even me, for example, my first name means patience. Now, do I have a lot of it? Let's not talk about that. But the point is, when you are choosing the name for your child, it is so important that you choose a name with the fact in mind that their name will contribute to who they are meant to be. I say all of this to say, as we go through life, it is so important to recognize that your identity is in so much more than you realize. Your name is a part of your identity, and your name is what will help you remain grounded in Christ. When you approach God about your name, the meaning of your name, where your name comes from, why you are named that way, you will begin to understand who you were created to be. The same way the Lord told Sarah about the destiny of her 2 children that were in her womb is the same way that he knew you while you were in the womb. He created you in the womb, and he decided your destiny from the moment you were created. So, before we end, I want to challenge you with this. Take some time this week, or however long it's going to be, to really evaluate your relationship with your name and how you understand your name. Do you really understand what your name means and how it applies to who you are as a person? Your name and understanding your name is a way that you can come to understand God and the plan that he has for you intimately, and to truly follow him knowledgeably, and to truly follow him with as much knowledge about him as you can. Anyway, thank you for joining me on this episode of Nothing New Under the Sun. Until next time, please stay rooted in Christ and remember that he has already accepted you, name and all. Let that truth guide you through everything that you face in this life. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like and share, subscribe and comment, and please, I will try to make sure that you never miss an episode. Also, feel free to leave a comment or reach out with any questions or anything that you have to say about today's topic. God bless you, and I'll see you later. Bye.